Hi there, everyone. Welcome to episode 636 of the Mike from Maine Show, the place where we do daily interviews with successful online entrepreneurs. This is your host, Mike Thomas, and today on the show we have Jeff Hunt on, and we're going to be talking about how he's been able to create an empire of over 300 websites that are making him between $5,000 to $10,000 per month passively, and how you can build your online website empire as well. Now, this is going to be all about going out there and buying websites that are already making money and then taking them and having them make more money for you. There's tons of questions I had for Jeff today. I really wanted to dig in and find exactly what the mistakes people are making, how to do it the right way, how to evaluate the websites. Really, it's going to be one of those topics that I'm excited about, and I hope you're excited about as well. And this is a guy, and I go over this a couple times in the interview, a guy that really knows what he's doing here. If we go over here to Flippa and we look at his profile, he has over $191,000 worth of transactions in here. And I don't want you to be scared by that, because a lot of these transactions are $400, $100, $600, $400, not super huge, but enough to create him a passive income. Let's get into it. Here's Jeff. We are here today with Jeff Hunt. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Mike. Glad to be with you today.
Jeff, I know that you have a portfolio of websites that is much larger than what most people have. You also have experience in the internet marketing niche that goes beyond a lot of other guests that I have on my show. Tell me a little bit about how you got into purchasing websites and making a living off of that.
Okay, well, let me just start back a little bit. I'm not going to make this too long, but I worked in corporate America, had a pretty big job, and my family and I decided that, we kind of met most of our career goals, and we really decided we wanted to do something dramatically different with our life. So me, my 4 kids, my wife, we moved to a country in Western Asia, and we learned a crazy language made up of Arabic and Turkish and a little bit of Russian tossed in there, and in Persian. And
where were you, by the way? What country were you?
Well, I can't tell you exactly what country I was in, because we were actually missionaries there.
Oh, okay.
And it was illegal to be a missionary, so we actually ran a business. We supported students. We taught a lot of students, and then we helped other small businesses in the country for about 7 years. And my whole family learned the language, and then it came time to get back to the United States. My older kids needed to go to college. While I was there, I'll tell you, it's not a good idea to try to run a real estate business in Western Asia. So, they didn't have the concept of mortgages. So we had actually started a real estate business, and that was actually the first entree into the internet, as I created a website for this real estate business. And then the real estate didn't work out too much, so I started doing internet-based things, which you can do from anywhere in the world, as you know, and started to have some success. So really, one of the defining things, like probably a lot of people watching this show, I listened to webinars, and I was really looking for a way to make money on the internet. And what I was listening to this webinar on a guy who had a news course, getting into Google News, and it was like a $500 thing, and I listened to it and I thought, wow, I don't know if I really want to do that. It's $500 plus I'm not even sure if I did it, if my site would get accepted into Google News. So I went out and started looking to see, well, maybe there's already a site that's in Google News that's for sale. And I found one, and that was my first website purchase, and it worked out fabulously, actually. I think it was just a blessing that the guy who sold it to me was really willing to help train me and get me on my feet with the thing, but started making money very early on. And for 9 months, it actually paid for itself in like 2.5 months, and made great money for 9 months. And then we kind of abused it, because we found these articles that made a lot of money, and on AdSense, and we were like publishing 5 of them a day or something, and so we got kicked out of Google News. But
you got greedy on it.
I got greedy, exactly, yeah. But I've been in the news business ever since, and that was like 6 years, and I still to this day have news websites, many of which I bought, and then because I had bought them, understood how they worked, I was able to actually create some later on. But that's what got me started.
So instead of having to worry about it, and I've heard about Google News and trying to get accepted in there, it's a pain in the butt from what I've heard. Instead of having to create that yourself, you were able to just buy your way into it and get past all of that hard work.
That's exactly right.
Cool. Well, today we're going to be talking about going out there and buying websites and you having other people do that work for us and then being able to benefit from that and monetize those sites in a better way. On your sales page, it says here the fast and certain way to online profits, even if you have no idea how to make money online. So we've got fast, we've got certain. I like making money fast. I like a certain way. If I know, like you mentioned before, you didn't know if you bought that course if it was really going to work for you. There's that aspect of wanting to be 100% sure that what you get is going to get you the results that you have. Tell us about what this is all about and why we should be interested in it.
Well, those words were carefully chosen, and it's fast because when you buy a business that already has customers, it already has a monthly income, it's logical. It stands to reason that the next day, the day that you own it, it's going to have that same income that it had yesterday, barring some natural disaster. So it's fast in the sense that income is really immediate. If you buy a legitimate business, the income is fast and it's legitimate. And it's certain, in contrast to almost every other method out there, starting a website from scratch, utilizing some other kind of internet system, you don't know for sure that you're going to make even $1 with any of those endeavors. You just do not know that for sure. And obviously, if you buy a website, sales could tank in the first week or the first month or something. So nothing in life is completely certain. But this is a lot more certain because when we go out and buy websites, we automatically exclude the 99% of websites out there that aren't making money. We don't look at those. We don't look at the ones that aren't getting traffic. So we're already only looking at the successful, demographic within the website community. And then we're picking inside of that, we're picking ones that we think have the best chance for success. So that's why this whole methodology is much more certain than kind of the random method off the street where you can buy Facebook ads, or you can rank YouTube videos, or whatever that strategy might be. Not that lots of people are very successful in each of those methods, but again, it's one of the big secrets in internet marketing that really isn't talked about very much is like none of the methods have high percentage success rates. They just really don't. If you look at all the people who try any particular method, it's just a small number of people who are going to be successful with that method. And so that's why buying a business that has already proven to attract traffic, already has a product that's selling, already has customers who are buying it, that really narrows down your focus to an area of success, and then it's up to you just to pick the right one, and that's what I help people do.
Because that business already has cash coming into it. Then it comes down to getting something that at the right price, I think. If something's making $100 a month, how long are you willing to wait for that to make back whatever price you pay for it? How long are you willing to wait for it to make back the money that you've spent? Plus, what can you do to take that website that apparently, if it has money that it's making, I'm assuming that it's going to have traffic coming in as well to it. I guess there's tweaks and stuff that can be done as well to have that make money. One thing I want to say, I want to dig into that stuff even more. I'm looking here at your, I got a sneak peek at Jeff's Flippa profile, and I'm able to see here, guys, that he has over 27 transactions, or he has 27 transactions totaling almost $200,000 in transactions over the lifetime of his account. Now, don't let that number scare you, because a lot of these websites I see him buying are for $100, for $400, for $600, smaller priced website. So can you give us some examples, some real life examples of stuff that you've done, of some deals that you've done, so people can get a better idea of how this all works?
Yeah, that I would love to do that. And let me start with some of the smaller examples because I realize that, whenever you use the word invest, people immediately have these dollar signs and sometimes it scares them. Um, but there really are opportunities even at the lower end. So here's what happened. There was this great lady. She's a nurse. She started a nursing blog, created a site called yourcareernursing.com. She worked at it for 3 years. She published probably 150 really great articles because it came from her experience. This was like real content, and she interviewed other nurses, and she put all this together. And I found it on Flippa, and it was making $18 a month. And when you subtracted the hosting cost, it was making, actually she had it listed as negative $2 per month earning, right? But guess what? She had an audience. She had like 1,000 unique visitors a month, 3,000 page views a month. And so I thought, well, I don't buy too many lower end ones these days. I'm buying higher end ones, but I thought this is a great little thing. And one reason I thought that is because I looked at her website and I saw her Google AdSense placement. And you mentioned to me earlier that you've got a lot of AdSense experience, so you already know where I'm going with this. So I kid you not, I made two changes to this website after I bought it. I took one of the ads that was in the sidebar and I moved it over into the body of the text, because when we're reading articles, we read left to right, left to right, left to right. I want their eyes to bump into the ad at the end of each sentence. So I moved it over into the text, and I knew before I bought this site that doing that would increase that AdSense earning by a factor of between 2 and 3, just from my experience. Just happened to know that, okay? And so that's not a big secret. Your listeners, if you got AdSense sites, you want to do that. And then there was no ad in the center of the article at all. I put one there. And that's all I did on the article pages. If you have no experience at all, you have to do some research. It'll take you 20 minutes to figure that out. If you got experience, you can do that in 5 minutes. Okay, so it took me 5 minutes. And then on the home page, she had all she had the most recent articles just in a big long list. So I just reset the home page where it pointed at a single static article to keep the keywords the same, and I put an ad there. I made those two changes, and the first month I owned it, I made $100. So I bought the site for $400. It went from -2 or 18 depending, and it's got my money back in 4 months, and then it's been making money ever since.
And then after that, it's all gravy on top of it.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's all gravy. Plus, it still has value as an asset. Now, if I were to sell it on Flippa, I could get more than $400 for it because I've shown the history of earnings over time that's grown higher. So that's just an example of kind of a lower end site. But guess what? You know how valuable that thing was. How much is 100 articles worth? Written by an expert. It's worth a ton if you can make some money from it.
And it's important also, a lot of times these websites, their content is written by outsourcers, maybe people that aren't even speaking English as a native first language, and to be able to get something like that, like you said, it's a real asset. It's real content in a day where real content can sometimes be hard to find. That's a real content website there. One thing that you mentioned is you bought this and then you held on to it. Now, is that a strategy that you're maintaining? Are you in general, are you buying them, fixing them up, keeping them, and then just like riding it out, or do you take them and flip them again and sell them for more? What's your strategy there?
My strategy is buy and hold for the most part. There are times when I will sell. For example, right now I own a software website. It sells software, and I've owned it, year and a half or so, and it makes money every month. But guess what? People who buy software want it to work, and technology changes and so on. And so, they're always bugging me. Oh, here's a bug that needs to be fixed, or can you help me install it, and so on. So it's not very passive. So I'm tempted to actually sell it because I don't like having to respond, to those kind of questions. But I'm still hanging on to it for the time being, and maybe I'll sell it. But generally, I want to buy and hold. Let me contrast. The flipping mindset is very legitimate. People do it in real estate, they do it online, so, and it works. And they do it with domains. So I'm not showing any disrespect to flipping at all, but just let's contrast them real quickly. The flipper needs to buy low and sell high, and he keeps that margin, and then he's got to do that again next month, or he doesn't eat. If that's his strategy, to live on those margins between what he bought and what he sold for, he's got to keep doing it repeatedly. Whereas the investing approach is you look very carefully before you buy, and you buy something you think that has sustainability, and it has a low risk profile, sustainability, and then then like my yourcareernursing.com website, a little bit embarrassing when you go look at it because there's nothing spectacular about it, but if I buy that, I invest a little bit of time at the beginning. I invest time to find it. Then I invest a little bit of time to improve it. And then mostly I let it set out there for a long time. So the flippers having, this monthly activity, I got to find a new one. It's got to be a good deal. Then I got to sell it. Then I got to find another one to replace that. And the investor saying, I got to find a good one. And then after I find it, I'm looking at an income stream out into the future. And then if there's some reason I need to sell it, yeah, I can sell it.
Speaking of income streams, you currently own, and you state right on the sales page, you have 300 websites that are in your portfolio at this time. How much are those 300 websites making you approximately per month?
Well, the 300 number is always in flux, but because I'm, like I buy sometimes networks of websites that have, like 100 or 200 websites in them. But so because of that, the income numbers in flux as well. But I've typically made from about 5,000 to probably had a high month of about 14,000. And so I run somewhere in there every month right now.
And before you were talking about your software website that you had and the annoyance of having to maintain it, it sounds like most of this is all passive. You fix them up, and that just is you let them go, and that money just comes in without you doing very much, if anything.
Yeah. Now it may not that's correct in general. I do have websites where I have outsourced the work, so there's people working on them each day, but I don't really get involved. Or I've got a couple of writers on my news websites every night. They're writing articles. We publish them in the morning U.S. time. I've got I bought a website that had a Facebook page, which I may tell you about a little later. But I've got a guy who posts viral videos to the Facebook page and posts ads on the Facebook page every day. So from my perspective, it's passive because I don't have to do anything, but there is work going on, but it's profitable work.
We've talked about, and you brought it up before, investing being a word that immediately brings money that we need to put into this to mind. What if someone doesn't have very much money to get started, and they're worried about, okay, well, I can't go out there and spend thousands of dollars on websites. What do you say to a person with that objection?
Well, I think that's it's obviously we have to make a choice about how we're going to spend our time and how we're going to spend our money. But if you have very limited money, then you still have to look at the comparison between building a website from scratch, where you're going to have to create a product of some kind or content of some kind. You're going to have to wait for a very long time to build up traffic, and probably along the way you're going to buy plugins, or you're going to buy education materials or whatever. And contrast that with what I did for Your Career Nursing, $400. I bought a site called WeLawyers.com for $100, and it had the same kind of story. It's making only $25 a month, but it paid for itself in 4 months, and now it's actually the traffic is growing, so it's making a little more than that. So but how long would it have taken you to build We Lawyers, and how much cost would there have been, real costs of some kind? Because while you're waiting for that traffic to grow, there's hosting costs and
Mm-hmm.
domain costs and all. So really, even at the very, very low end, a lot of times you can buy cheaper than you can build, and that's just what the bottom line.
It sounds great, and I would love to go out there and find websites that if you were to sell me a website for $1,000 and it was making $100 a month, and I knew I was going to make my money back in 10 months, like I am all for that. But what I would be worried about is getting ripped off. How do you not get ripped off? What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make, and what mistakes have you made when doing this? With all these websites, you must have made some mistakes with all these websites that you've purchased.
Well, I'll tell you, this happened literally last week. Um, I was investigating a website, and it was a high-end sale. And one of the key techniques that we do is we have, if you're investing very much at all, I always encourage people to have a Skype session where the seller shares their screen with you and shows you evidence of their traffic, evidence of their income, and so on. And so I had done that, and I actually recorded the screen while the seller was doing that, so I could go back and look at it and just make sure everything looked hunky dory.
Smart.
But then I also thought, well, I wonder if this guy's tried to sell this website before, or is anywhere else. So I just did this Google search, and I was surprised. One thing that popped up was a Vimeo video that he had made 2 weeks earlier, and it was a video of his AdSense screen. I'm sorry, his PayPal screen. So I started watching this, and I thought, man, this doesn't look the same as what I saw when he did the live real-time um, demonstration. And so I started actually, I brought them up side by side and played them forward and was comparing numbers, and they were different. And so I confronted the guy and I said, look, why wouldn't this one match this one? And he said, oh, uh, he actually made up a couple of excuses and they didn't pan out. And so I said, well, best of luck. And I went away. So one of the key tools is actually looking at their screen live. You can fake almost anything, but that's really, really good. The other thing is I always ask for access to Google Analytics in read-only mode. And nowadays you can also ask for um, Google Webmaster Tools. That's recently been renamed Google Console. You can actually give somebody lesser rights to view that, and the great thing about that is that that will show you if there are any Google penalties on their account. That'll also show you the actual keywords. You can go to the query area, and it'll show you the keywords that people are finding their website with, which isn't always available even in Google Analytics. So between Webmaster Tools and Analytics access, and then looking at their screen live real time, those are pretty solid tools for assessing most kinds of businesses and avoiding the scams that happen. If you're dependent on just screenshots, that's pretty shaky.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do your due diligence before you make any purchase here. The internet, people can fudge numbers, and it's definitely a smart move to be looking at those. What kind of websites work best for this? Is it AdSense websites that are the best? Amazon? You mentioned software. What's, in your opinion, what's the best?
Well, let me list the categories real quickly. There are content kind of websites driven by advertising, and that would, so there are affiliate sales, AdSense sales. There are leads websites, which I really like lead websites, where you capture the contact information and then you sell that to someone who's willing to pay for that lead. And then there are intermediaries like QuinStreet.com I use a lot for example, I use them for educational leads, where you have an educational website. Somebody says, oh yeah, I'm interested in the University of Phoenix. They type in their name and their address and their phone number, and then QuinStreet.com pays me $20 for that lead. Or somebody's interested in refinancing their home, QuinStreet pays me. Actually, in that case, they pay me by click, but they can also pay by lead. So advertising kind of websites, lead websites, services websites. I really like services, and particularly automated services, where perhaps the service is I'll create a business plan for you, but it's online. So basically, somebody puts down $25 and it's software that walks them through, asks them a bunch of questions, and then generates a business plan report at the end. That's an example of a service. And then software is one of the big categories, and whether it's software as a service, whether it's delivered software. So it's kind of hard to say which is best. Software has really good margins. Sometimes it has some support requirements, unless you're just willing to have one version of it and then just sell it until it's not usable. Advertising sites clearly are very passive. Lead sites can be passive. Services sites might be very active, and software may be active or not. So it kind of depends on what your goals are as to what performs. I mean, you can make a lot of good money in any of those depending on the audience that you're buying.
Now, I know that the course that you have here for people that are interested in going deeper into this, there's a bunch of different options. We've got 4 options here on the sales page. Let's go through these together and talk about what's inside of each one.
Very good. Okay, so you want me to just take us through that? Okay, so we have at the low end we have a bronze package, and it includes 2 things. One is a tool that helps you evaluate the worth of an opportunity. And this is going to sound a little bit brash and maybe arrogant, but actually it's the best tool on the market today. Most of these tools where you type in a domain name to figure out what it's worth, or a website, they give you bogus results. I bet you know that, Mike.
I've tried one that I always throw domains into is like Estabot. Have you heard of Estabot?
Okay, yeah.
And it's always way off, and there's so many different variables. Like if you were to put Mike from Maine into MikeFromMaine.com into one of these tools, it would tell you it was worth like nothing. When in reality, there's a $250,000 business installed on this website.
Yeah, and I would challenge you to just try that out with my tool and see what it comes up with.
Definitely will.
Be happy to hear what that result is. But the reason that my tool is more successful is because it collects a lot more information. It collects about 15 pieces of information that include the income earned, the traffic source, the income source, because some income sources are more reliable than others and have higher margins than others, and some traffic sources are more reliable than others. But more importantly than that, it also captures the trend. I mean, you put in what is the trend of the income? Is it down, up? Because there's a dramatically different value to a website where traffic has been trending down over some period of time, income has been trending down, then vice versa. It also captures information about the accuracy of the information that you're giving it. If you think, like, if you have high confidence in the info, that's one thing. If you have low confidence, that's an entirely different thing. So so actually it's kind of a mini expert system, and it gives you a high and low range and a target valuation, and that's part of the $9 package, which maybe if I were a better internet marketer, that wouldn't be in the $9 package. I don't know.
But it sounds like it gives you an idea, because a lot of times I can see people looking at these websites and not knowing how much they should either buy it for, or if they do eventually want to sell it, how much the real value of it is. I've bought and sold a lot of websites. My brother has also bought and sold a lot of websites. He's actually much better than I am at this. But people like myself, my brother, and you, we might have a better kind of innate knowledge when it comes to this, but someone just getting started, they could easily get fooled into perhaps buying a bad site and investing in a bad site. So cool. I like that that's included inside that first pack. So that includes the business value estimator, There's also the starter guide and the case studies.
Yeah, that's right. And the starter guide gives you an overview of the buying process, where to find sites to buy, what you should look for in evaluating those sites, a little bit about how to implement them. And then case studies. There are 4 case studies. There may be actually more in that guide, but they're my real life experiences. So, I think one of them at least is a buy that went bad, and
Which is
kind of
important
why.
to learn from. That's why I wanted to ask you about some of your negative experiences, because those are the times that we learn the most.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I have had several of those. I mean, I didn't have an advisor on any of this when I started, and so I kind of learned it all by trial and error. And so the next package up is really the core, and that is we call it the silver package, but it's the Own the Web video course. It's 6 hours of videos, about 40 different videos that I've created that outline the whole process from the beginning of how you should be thinking about which websites you're going to look for to buy, specifically where you can find them, the marketplaces, the brokerages, and the private buying options that you might use. And then there's a whole set of videos on business models. It's kind of optional material, but I go into a lot more detail about what does it mean to own a lead website? What does it mean to own a services website? And people who own services websites, what are the things that they focus on? And then in the core of the course, probably the most important part of the course is how do you evaluate a website? And there are 13 different things that include things like the content, the owner's background, the reasons for selling, the traffic, the income, the expenses, and a number of other things. And we go into a lot of detail on each of those things. And it's, if you never even bought a website ever in the future, it's still really good to understand all of those dynamics, because if you're going to be in the online world at all of those pieces of how you evaluate a business come into play when you're actually creating your own website. So we go into all that in great detail. There's also a bonus about how to sell. As I said earlier, I'm not a big flipper, but actually I've been very successful at selling, probably because I'm successful at buying, so I know what people want. And so there's an extensive module on that.
And that goes hand in hand. Sorry to interrupt, but that goes hand in hand there with the fact that if you know what people want as a buyer, you're able to package that up and give it to them as a seller, and vice versa. I mean, you need to understand how both ends of that market work, so that you don't get ripped off, so that you are able to get a site that's going to be valuable for you. And when you sell a site to someone, let's face it, you want them to be happy with their purchase. You don't want to give them something and then have them come back to you and be disappointed or angry at what they got. So it's very important that you understand both sides.
Yeah, it sounds like you have experience with that, because that's absolutely right on. So that's the core video part. That's the silver package. The gold package includes 2 additional things. It includes all, the tool and the book and the course, but it also includes membership in a private Facebook area where I frequent, and some other experienced investors, and then some of the newer people who are just getting into investing. And it's a place where you can ask questions and have access to those kind of minds. And the gold also includes 3 mastermind sessions where there are groups of no more than 6 people in each group, where we talk about the individual goals that you might have. And I really usually get into some very practical things of, like, Jeff, I've got this much money, and what really is the best way to use it, and or what can if I have $1,000 to spend, if I have 5,000 or 1,000 or 100, what can I really expect to get from that money, and how should I target my time? So it's real practical questions like that. Your own situation, your own goals. That's what the masterminds are about. That's cool. The gold package. Okay. And then platinum, just real briefly, is all of the above, plus the thing for platinum is it's 6 sessions with me, and they're half-hour sessions. They can be spread over whatever time is valuable. for you. Like, and some people use them before they buy. They use all their sessions before they buy, because and the sessions go like this: Jeff, I'm looking at this. What do you think about this one? Okay.
Oh.
What are the risks? What are the income improvement opportunities? What questions should I ask the seller? Just what's your gut feel? Look over my shoulder and tell me. I wish I had had that um, a, a number of times along the way. It would have saved me, I mean, literally, I kid you not, would have saved me tens of thousands of dollars just to have 1 half-hour session with someone who'd done this before. Because, it's just, it's like any other internet thing. Like, you learn 100 things, but sometimes after you learn those 100 things and you try to apply it, you forget what of those 100 need to be emphasized. So
And you might be making a huge mistake that you've checked everything else. You've got everything looks like perfect, and you're about to buy something, and you're like, okay, Jeff, let's look at this. And you look at it, and it just, for you, it stands out like, no, don't
Yeah.
buy this. Or maybe it's like, wow, like, buy this right now. Like, if you don't buy this, I'm gonna buy this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sometimes there's just some obvious things that aren't so obvious, and even if you're a sharp person. And so a lot of people use their sessions with me to do exactly that. We just talk through, and it isn't just helping them with due diligence. It's also educating them, because what I find is, people say, oh, here's 4 of these I'm considering, Jeff, what do you think? We go through them, they're all kind of weak. But guess what? The next session, that same client brings 4 more to me. Invariably, they're a lot better selections, because just one session going through, and so they get educated along the way. And that's my goal. My goal isn't to lock people into permanent, consulting. I want to, like, teach people how to make good decisions. And with that platinum package, by the end of it, these people are all making really good decisions. But it's a combination of kind of the theory they get in the course, and then trying out practical examples against my experience. So that's what we offer, is something for everybody, from the low end to the high end. And a lot of people, they just start where they're comfortable and get the most out of it.
And I want to point out here as well that the way that you've structured this, I don't think there are no reoccurring fees. There's no one-time offers. This is, you pick what you want from the sales page, and that's the only thing that you get. You don't buy one of these and then you're offered a bunch of things after. It's just that. Am I correct?
That's completely right, and mostly that's just like my personal philosophy. I mean, I just felt like I want to offer people what they think will help them the most, and not take them through upsells, downsells, that kind of thing.
Take them for a wild ride through the upsell and downsell train. Guys, Jeff is, like I've said, he's a guy that he's purchased over 300 income producing websites. He's a writer for Flippa.com, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. It's the premium place where everyone goes to buy and sell websites. You've got a lot of experience doing this. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Is there anything else, anything we missed, anything you wanted to mention, any words of wisdom before we wrap it up?
Well, I guess I would offer this. We all have limited time, we have limited money, we have to make choices about how we're going to use that. But there's one other commodity that I think people don't think about that they have, and that is that's like resolve and emotional energy, and just like what of all these choices you have to start making an income on the internet, how which one do you really want to invest something emotionally into? And because you try to do that to more than 1 or 2 things, and you'll find that your interest level just wanes completely. So I would just say that this may or may not be the thing for you. You've heard enough about it that you can probably start making a good decision. But it may not be the thing, it may be the thing. But just whatever your thing is, realize that you've got a certain amount of time, certain amount of money, and a certain amount of like emotional discipline that you're going to use to get behind something. And you should just think very carefully about what that thing is that you want to get behind, and then who you're going to get behind. And is the person you're going to get behind someone who'll care about you and actually take you to the end goal, or are they just trying to make some money? So just keep that in mind, and you'll do well, I think.
Again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and best of luck with your launch.
Thanks very much, Mike. I really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed the interview today with Jeff. If you are interested in picking up the Website Investors Own the Web course, you're going to want to come back tomorrow early at 6 a.m. Eastern is when the cart is going to go live. You're going to be able to pick it up at its cheapest price along with my special bonuses. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.